Recording. Again, my name is Andrew Zamecnik. I'm part of the Centre for Change and Complexity in Learning, C3L at UniSA. I'll be presenting a short paper on exploring the provision of mentors and clients for teams in will environments. This paper involves collaboration from UniSA, Dr. Svetko Joksimovic, Dr. Vidomir Kovanovic, Georg Grossman, Diazia Lerdia, and Professor Abelardo Pardo. So there is this pressure, there is this push by industry, governments and communities to really kind of prepare the students for the future of work. And a part of this is to bring valuable skills in the workplace, such as collaboration, creativity, complex problem solving, and communication. So what does this mean? It means it's created pressure for institutions to respond to this in order to provide these skills for students that are crucial, right? And as part of this, industry has introduced a form of a learning environment called work-integrated learning, and these are generally places where students and learners from higher education can come in and work on real industry projects, and they are supervised by clients and mentors that provide them consistent feedback throughout their learning. And given that this paper is generally focusing on feedback, it's required for ongoing support and guidance so that the team gets the best learning experience and that they are able to complete the project successfully. So the problem is that it's sometimes the feedback that mentors and clients provide to help students may not necessarily translate to actionable feedback, right? We might have a situation where a client might provide feedback to a learner, but the learner does not understand or is able to interpret the helpfulness of the feedback, right? So they can cause issues there with interpretation, can create conflicts between the team and the clients or mentors. Given these challenges, they've proposed a framework for learners to review feedback from their supervisors, so learners are able to rate the helpfulness of the feedback that the client and mentor provides. At the moment, in the research community, there's this kind of assumption that this is the situation, but what we're really interested in, and I had the opportunity to investigate, is how do teams actually rate the helpfulness and the type of feedback that they are given from their clients and mentors. So in this study was part of was in a collaboration with an industry partner that does experiential learning and work-integrated learning in Australia, and we were able to collect this data and learn a little bit about the situation there. So feedback, it is crucial for team learning performance. It helps teams to more effectively work towards their goals. Both negative and positive feedback. It can help reinforce positive behaviors and break negative ones. This is like my kind of favorite interpretation of why feedback is important. It's used as a lever to regulate the team's processes and their emergent states, such as their cohesion. The delivery of feedback is also crucial for learning. It has already been based on Hades and Timperley's feedback model. There are some instances where we see in collaborative learning research that they've used this to identify the feedback that students and learners receive. However, studies that have done similar work evaluating the feedback types that mentors and clients provide to learners is not really well done. So it's important to investigate how teams perceive the quality of feedback and examine the types that they receive to help improve the quality of feedback and experience for teams in work-integrated learning. So there's 2 research questions as part of this short paper. 1, what helpfulness ratings do clients and mentors receive? Very straightforward. And then also, how do client and mentor feedback provisions differ in the task, process, regulatory, and self levels? Right? So in the methodology, we've collected data of the same program over a 2-year period. In total, 994 learners assigned with 1 mentor and client each. And the 994 learners were split into 194 teams. Right? So teams worked on an industry-based project, receiving feedback for each of the 3 major deliverables with this industry partner, and one's based on their planning, their drafting, and their final report. For teams to provide their helpfulness scores, they undertaken almost like a survey, and they rated using a Likert score from 1 to 10 to rate the helpfulness for each of the 3 major deliverables. The scores from teams were grouped and aggregated for the 3 deliverables, which was conducted to help with analysis. Just to give a bit of an idea, the bit of the labeling and the descriptions and what are some of the examples. So we looked at the 4 main ones from Haiti and Timperlase. So the feedback on the task level, process, regulatory, and self. And what we do here is we pretty much categorized based on you can imagine that the real feedback example, let's just say if you ignore the rows, it's 1 single paragraph, and we've labeled with a reviewer the type of what a particular sentence, what kind of type of feedback that is. Right? So, like I mentioned, it involved splitting the feedback from paragraphs into sentences, and what we wanted to understand is for every time the client and mentor provides feedback to each team for the 3 deliverables, what kind of feedback types does it hit? So what do they receive? Do they receive across the whole board, across the task to the self, or is it just mostly focusing on the task or the self, right? You might see a G there. Sometimes the feedback provided from clients and mentors is not really necessarily related to their feedback. They're just kind of general comments that not really helpful for their learning, in the sense that just they're just general. So I've added in there as well because I thought that is an important thing to also consider. Yep. So the results. As part of our first research question, we found that mentors receive higher helpfulness scores than clients that are statistically significant. And the post hoc analysis also shows that for the report is where we see those differences there. When it comes to the 3 assessments, the report is significant, but not by too much. The magnitude is on the lower end of the spectrum, but generally what these results suggest is that there's signs that mentors might have more useful feedback, and I'll explain a little bit why later in the discussion. And for our second part of for our second research question, we see a epistemic network graph subtracted by 2 network graphs on figure 2b. We can clearly see that mentors in the purple have stronger co-occurrence connections stemming from regulation to tasks, self, and process, whereas clients are leaning more towards the self, the task, and general. So again, this resource indicates that mentors tend to provide more balanced feedback and more co-occurrences when they do give feedback, where the clients are more specifically focused on the task and the result, which is completely understandable. So what do we know from this? So mentors' feedback tend to be more helpful. Why? There are a couple of reasons. One, mentors have a defined role to help teams learn. whereas a client is mostly interested in seeing their project completed. Overall, we have found that the differences were not that large. One would expect for mentors to provide better feedback because it's their job. It could be that feedback might actually be useful, but the students have interpreted it negatively. They might have not understood the feedback, and the feedback might have been helpful, but the team might have thought, this is, they might be attacking us. So, for the second part, mentors tend to provide more feedback types than clients, which was expected. It confirms assumptions that mentors tend to kind of focus on the process and regulation part because they're very interested in how we can improve the feedback within the team, as opposed to the feedback that's focusing on on the task. So what are the implications? One might wonder how. So one way could be to examine the feedback data from the learning management system by using learning analytics and allow institutions and researchers that support the training of mentors and clients to provide quality feedback to help teams learn through backward evaluation as one kind of way. So if the students provide feedback to the clients and mentors, the mentors and clients can reflect on that feedback and adjust the way that they're given feedback to the students. So teachers, educational managers might be able to conduct or use these results to help the way that clients and mentors provide feedback to students. Some of these limitations I've come across in this short study. So not all teams have received feedback for all three assessments. Generally about 90-95% have received. Due to data privacy issues, not all data could have been used to further evaluate other factors that may have impacted the results. So things like looking at their engagement, their performance grades, and their goals and motivations and things like that. Same thing with their age and demographics. The binary scale used, so the Likert scaling, could be susceptible to subjective biases. There's always a possibility for that. And another thing is, for those that know Haiti and Timperley's model, that it's not just about the types, it's also about the feeding up, feeding back, and feeding forward feedback. So to connect that with the future of work for this kind of study, that is something that I would like to explore further, is to kind of understand a little bit about the text analytics using natural language processing to kind of really break down and understand the sentiments and the kind of, to understand more about the feedback given. Of course, artificial intelligence can be used here to help the automatic labeling. Labeling 5,000 rows of feedback is very time consuming. So having a tool, perhaps maybe an API from ChatGPT might be able to really help with this. And in summary, mentors and clients, they have different roles when it comes to the provision of feedback with teams, but what this short study shows is that we've done some data-informed approaches and examinations where we actually had a look at the type of feedback that clients and mentors actually give. And we had some kind of nice insights where we see that mentors tend to provide regulatory and process level feedback, and clients tend to focus on the task, self, and general levels of feedback. And in short, mentors are perceived to have better feedback than clients, but this is limited to this particular cohort in the study and this our collaborative partner that hosted the work integrated learning environment. So thank you.